The goal is to train better. People want to skip to the end, but think of training the same way you would think of jiu-jitsu. You have white belt. You don't get to skip white belt and go to blue belt class. You do white belt, you go blue belt, and you work your way up through the ranks because you're working on your understanding of movement. Kettlebelling is the same. Hello, my name is Mark Wildman. I've been a trainer for 20 plus years, martial arts coach for 10 years beyond that. I've been in a bad circus. I've trained actors for movies. I travel around the world and I try to tell people the best way to get the most out of training in the least amount of time for the least amount of money. I have a strategy that I use that I absolutely know works. So let's talk about basic kettlebell training. The two most basic things that people should be doing are a kettlebell swing program and a kettlebell clean and press program. I highly recommend people do this with single kettlebell first. And I recommend they do it this way because people are injured. Whether you are out of shape, you need a longer program to allow your body to adapt so that you can learn to move better because athleticism is about core movements, or whether you're an advanced athlete. If you're an advanced athlete, then you have injuries. There's no way out of it. If you don't have a bunch of injuries, you're probably not an advanced athlete. So let's talk about clean and press, single arm clean and press. I talk about this movement all the time, and I think it's the most important kettlebell movement out there. Not competition style long cycle, good old fashioned American hard style clean and press for a Western audience. If you grew up in the Eastern Bloc and you've been doing kettlebells since you were 5, then do that style, Eastern style. If you're somebody who goes to the gym, does jiu-jitsu, farms, or is out of shape, good old fashioned hard style clean and press with one kettlebell is where you need to go. If you're a normal guy without a ton of really bad injuries, then you're probably gonna go 16K, 18, 20, 22, 24, at least 26, 28, 30, 32. That's 9 weights. Normally athletes benefit from going 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and then going to 1K jumps, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 gets really important here, 31, 32. So 9 weights, or what is that, 13 weights. Think of those, every one of those, as a training cycle. Why? Because crossbody stability is not something that people are training in the gym. Core activation with 2 feet on the ground is not something that's super common. This is why 60 to 70% of the population has persistent back pain. 7 out of 10 people have persistent back pain. That means back pain that lasts a long time. It's been going on for years. That is related to how their core works. The more cycles you run with a weight, the better your overall outcome will be. That's just basic training. If you are a professional athlete, then you train for years and you work on your fundamentals for years. We talk about this in martial arts all the time. We talk about this in circus training. Your fundamentals never stop. I did circus aerial. You climb every day. You do at least 4 different types of climbs inside your training because at its core, circus aerial is climbing. Sexy, sexy, sexy climbing, but it's still climbing. If you do martial arts, you practice your basic punches, your basic kicks every day. If you're kettlebelling, you should be practicing your fundamentals every week. The more you practice it, just like Olympic lifting, the better you get at the core training. I tell people if they're an advanced athlete, they should add more steps to training and more cycles because the odds that they have more injuries is way, way, way higher. That's why I talk about people spending about 3 years or more on their single arm before I recommend them going to double. Can you do it another way? Absolutely. I know this way works because I've used it for athletes for 20 plus years. Whether it's stunt guys on A-list movies, professional actors, circus performers, jiu-jitsu guys, farmers, or your grandmother. The more cycles you do, the better people move, the more they integrate their structure, their breathing, and their movement. A lot of ego lifters just want to throw up big numbers for a short period of time. I want to train for years. I have been severely injured over my 25 years as a trainer from doing a lot of cool stuff. You ride dirt bikes, you fall off a cliff, you hit a bunch of rocks, you're in the circus, you fall 25 feet, you do jujitsu, you do judo, you hit the mat hundreds of times every day. The more cool you've done, the more cycles you should add to training. The goal is to train better. People want to skip to the end, but think of training the same way you would think of jujitsu. You have white belt. You don't get to skip white belt and go to blue belt class. You do white belt, you go blue belt, and you work your way up through the ranks because you're working on your understanding of movement. Kettlebelling is the same. Heavy club swinging is the same. Mace swinging is the same. It's not a 6-week program. It is a multi-year, lifelong strategy to move better. And every time you get hurt, you go back to the beginning and you drop weight and you restore your fundamental movement patterns. More weights, more cycles, better overall outcome. Most people will get the most benefit in the least amount of time from running swings, doing 2-hand on one set, and then doing hand-to-hand on the next set. That's just 10 minutes twice a week. And you do the math and you march up. If you try to skip steps in that training, then people tend to get hurt. This is something we hear from gym guys all the time. They've been going to the gym for years and years. So they try to go 16, 24, and they try to just start with sets of 20. And then they have back pain or hip pain. It's because their structure, their breathing, and their movement hasn't worked itself out. The whole point of running cycles of training is that it waves the same way it does in Olympic lifting. Every time a cycle starts over, the volume goes down. You build back up the volume. You work on your structure, your breathing, and your movement, and you get better at the basics over and over and over again. When you skip steps in training, just like in Olympic lifting, just like in jujitsu, just like in circus, you tend to get really, really hurt. And then you steal training time from yourself. The more injured you have been in your life, the more steps you should add to your training.